What's up, folks, and welcome in live to a brand new edition of the Babin on the Bayou show on this very fine Friday afternoon, Friday, March 6th, 2026. Hope you and your family are doing well. Hope everything's going great. Again, appreciate you guys as always for tuning into the show. Excited for this one. Going to be an LSU baseball pregame slash weekend preview as the Tigers this weekend take on Sacramento State in a 3-game weekend series at home in Alex Box Stadium. We'll preview that one, go through everything. That'll be the majority of the show today. Want to quickly shout out LSU women's basketball for getting a dominant win this afternoon over the Oklahoma Sooners by a final score of 112-78. So that was in the SEC tournament quarterfinals, and the Tigers advanced to the semifinals tomorrow afternoon, where they will be taking on, you guessed it, Don Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Kim Mulkey tries once again to defeat South Carolina and finally defeat Don Staley while she is at LSU. Before we get into LSU baseball, I want to remind you, as we do every day, we're sponsored by our great friends over at Shield Heating and Cooling, the best AC company in the business today. Remember that phone number, 225-46-BAYOU, 225-46-BAYOU, B-A-Y-O-U. You call that number and you tell them you heard about them from this show, and you'll be getting free AC system cleaning checks for every AC system in your home, courtesy of our great and wonderful friends, the great team over at Shield Heating and Cooling. Again, that number is 225-46-BAYOU, B-A-Y-O-U. Call that number today to take part in this amazing completely free to you giveaway, courtesy of our friends over at Shield Heating and Cooling. All right, folks, hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going well. Again, I'm going to spend the show today going over some preview for LSU baseball. Everything that's going on. Again, the Tigers take on Sacramento State in a 3-game weekend series. They play tonight. First pitch is at 6:30, so we're a little bit less than an hour and a half away from first pitch. First pitch tomorrow night, Saturday night, is at 6 p.m., and then their series wraps up at 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Again, thank you for tuning into the show. Okay, now let's get into it. We're going to get into the preview. We're going to talk a little bit about Sacramento State, but this weekend is more to me about LSU. It's the last non-conference weekend before LSU goes on the road to Nashville next Friday to play the Vanderbilt Commodores in a 3-game weekend series to kick off SEC play. And if we're being honest, the last 6 games, the Tigers have not been very fun. They have not been very fun. The Tigers are 3-3 in their last 6 games, going back to McNeese and the 2 games against Dartmouth and Northeastern. 4 games combined, 2 games against each of those programs, and then you lose to ULL on Wednesday night. You've lost your last 2 games, unfortunately. And really, when you look at it, to me, it starts at the plate, right? Like, it starts at the plate. You have not been good at the plate in your last 6 games, only averaging 4.8 runs per game in the last 6 games. And that includes a 10-run outburst against Northeastern Monday night that was largely led by your younger players, not really your starting lineup. Your younger players led that outburst on Monday night, but you've still only been averaging around 4.8 runs per game. So hasn't been good. When you look at it, you lost your last 2 games to Northeastern and ULL. And to me, there's many problems that we can dive into and we can talk about. But I said it the other day. I believe I said it in a post I made Thursday morning, the morning after you lost to ULL. To me, coming into this season, the reason why I told people this season, 2026, was going to be different than the 2024 season. Both seasons, you're coming off winning national championships in the years prior, but you have more veterans and more experience and more national champions returning in 2026 rather than in 2024. You had a few guys returning, but it was pretty much a very new team. This year, you had Curiel, Milam, Brown, all those guys returning. Stanfield returning. Now, Chris Stanfield hasn't played much this season, only played the first 2 games. of the season, and he's been injured with a hand injury since then. So you're hoping he gets back fairly soon. But really, when you look at it, that's been the issue. Or not that's been the issue. What I'm trying to say is you have all those guys back. You have Brown, Curiel, Milam, Guidry, Schmidt, Evans, all those guys back. Right now, to me, I don't see a vocal leader on this team. I don't see a vocal leader on this team, and I don't see passion. I don't see that much energy. I don't see that much fire. I don't see that much determination. And you're playing at LSU. What that means is you're playing for the best baseball program in the country. So every night you go out there to play a baseball game, you are getting the other team's best shot, their best punch. The other team is on fire. They are determined because they are playing the LSU Fighting Tigers. They know that they're going out and they're trying to make a statement against you by knocking off the best college baseball program in America today. So if you don't come out and match that energy, match that fire, match that passion. You have more talent. You have all the talent in the world. And that's why I still believe in this team long term. And I still think everything's in front of them and they're going to have a great season. But it hasn't been a great stretch these last 6 games. It hasn't been great. This team has been shaky. And it's a problem. And to me, it goes back to who are your leaders? Where's the leadership? That is what I'm looking at. That is what I'm looking at because you're getting everybody's best shot because they know they're going to play LSU. So you need to match that energy and that fire and that passion and that just determination. And I haven't seen that lately. The issues start at the plate. Obviously, again, only averaging 4.8 runs per game in the past 6 games. I don't want to point anybody out, but I will. A few numbers here. Cade Beatty is batting 1 for 12 in his last few games. Dardar is 1 for 16. Zach York is 2 for 22. We've seen, not just from those guys, but we've seen struggles from the whole lineup, from everybody pretty much. We've seen struggles from everybody. The only guys with multiple hits in the last few games have been Derek Curiel and Jake Brown. Jake Brown had a hit and a couple of hard hit balls against ULL the other night. Derek Curiel had 3 hits in the games against ULL the other night. But besides that, you haven't seen any multi-hit games over the past week, really, from anybody else. So it's been a struggle for this lineup, not only as a lineup, but you were struggling in the field as well. You were struggling defensively, committing 7 errors in your last 2 games alone, 4 against Northeastern and then 3 against ULL on Wednesday night. You struggled in the field. You struggled defensively. One guy that unfortunately I love him, and Jay Johnson talked glowingly about him going into the season, the jump that he made from freshman to sophomore year. But Cade Beatty doesn't look great at the plate offensively right now, but especially he's been struggling behind the plate at the catcher position. Cade Beatty has been struggling, but it's not just him. Again, you have not been playing good defense lately, really the past week, but especially in your last 2 games, giving up those 7 errors. And then as a pitching staff, obviously the biggest positive on this team right now is you feel very good and very confident in the starting pitching rotation on the weekend with Evans, Moore, and Schmidt. Like those 3 guys have been great and are great. Your starting rotation is in a great spot. And then you have Gavin Guidry and Devin Sheeran out of the bullpen who have been great as well. And some other guys have been solid too. But really, especially in your last 2 games against Northeastern and ULL, the back end of this pitching staff has really struggled. A few notes from Jay Johnson's post-game speaking to the media Wednesday night after the 7-2 loss in Lafayette to the Raging Cajuns. He said, obviously, this team needs to produce more runs. This team needs to produce more runs, be better offensively. Jay Johnson said he was going to, Jay Johnson has already heavily invested in doing a lot of work with the offense, but he's saying he's going to do more work than he's ever had to do before at LSU. Like Jay Johnson is all in. Like they understand these problems, and I believe in this coaching staff. Obviously, Jay Johnson, the best college baseball coach in America, so obviously I believe in this coaching staff. But when you look at it, you have When you go back to what he said Wednesday night against ULL, he talked about obviously you need to score more runs. And then another thing he said that stood out to me is you need to limit the big innings as a pitching staff, which you haven't done a great job of in the past few games. You gave up a 4-run inning and then a 6-run inning in one game Monday night to Northeastern, and then you give up 2 3-run innings against ULL Wednesday night. So as a pitching staff, you've been struggling giving up the big innings. So I thought that was, of course, Jay Johnson. The top 2 things he said the other night was, of course, being, obviously he's already hands-on with the offense, but even more hands-on with the offense. The offense needs to score more runs, and then you've got to limit the big inning as a pitching staff. Look, the good news is, as I've said before, you feel really good about your starting rotation on the weekend with Case and Evans tonight, Cooper Moore on Saturday, William Schmidt on Sunday. All of those guys have been really, really good starting rotational wise. So, excuse me, that's the biggest positive on this team right now. When you look at it, they've been really good so far. Another thing Jay also said post game, I believe, Wednesday night after the ULO, is he feels confident in that 3-man starting rotation as a pitching staff, but Jay said he has 4 arms out of the bullpen right now that he trusts. The slam dunks there are Gavin Guidry and Devin Sheeran. Obviously, Gavin Guidry has an 18-1 strikeout to walk ratio this season, and opponents are only hitting 128 off of him. Devin Sheeran, in over 6 innings, still hasn't given up a hit yet this season. So Devin Sheeran has been great as well. Then we can get to some other guys that I think he might be talking about. I think Jaden Newt is in that conversation as well. I like how Jaden Newt has been pitching lately. He pitched Wednesday night, had 1 perfect inning against ULL, where all he did was in 1 inning, I believe it was the 8th inning, he threw 11 pitches, and all of those pitches were for strikes. So Jaden Newt has looked really good. At times, I think Ethan Plog has been solid, and Dax Date has been solid. And then Maverick Rizzi has only given up 2 hits. He's only given up 2 hits. So he's not giving up a lot of hits, and he's striking out a lot of guys. But, of course, the issue with Rizzi has been the fact that he has struggled with command. You saw it Wednesday night against ULL, the wild pitches, pass balls are part of that. But Maverick Rizzi, throwing pitches behind the batter the other night against ULL. So Rizzi is he's only given up 2 hits, but he struggled at times to find the strike zone. So that's kind of where I think. And then you have other back end guys that need to step up as well. But you feel good about this weekend because of your starting rotation and because of what you have with Casey Evans, Cooper Moore, and William Schmidt. And then I'm still holding out for Cooper Williams. I do like Cooper Williams as a lefty. He was great opening weekend, and he's only been just okay since then. He hasn't been great since opening weekend, but I still believe in what Cooper Williams has and what he provides. About to get into Sacramento State in a little bit, and this weekend want to get into some comments. Let's see. Randy, have you noticed a lot of the media seems to be overemphasizing a slump? Might be playing to the fan base or for ratings, but we still are a powerhouse. Yes, we're still the powerhouse. I think we're going to be fine, Randy. I do. I don't think it's the offense hasn't been good, of course. They haven't been good in the past 6 games. It's been a struggle, but when is Jay Johnson in his previous 4 seasons? When can you say he's had a bad offense? When can you say he's finished the season? That season's offense wasn't good. Look at how this offense played in the first 8 games of the season. They absolutely raked. They were mashing the ball in the first 8 games of the season. You and Junior and Jay Armstrong are right down my alley for LSU baseball. Love Muso too. Yeah, thank you, Randy. Drama draws clicks and views about all I can chalk that up to. Yes, drama does draw clicks and views. Yeah. Love LSU baseball, win or lose. having fun doing it. Make sure you check out David. Yes, David, Zach, go deep dive. All those guys do so great. Paul does great. AP does great with timeouts and tangents. There's so many other guys. I had a blast with Austin Taylor last night. Had a great, just love LSU baseball. I know you love LSU baseball, Randy. I know you love LSU baseball, my friend. Let's get right back into this preview, though. When you talk about Sacramento State, so when you look at their numbers, Sacramento State, when you look at their numbers, they are not good offensively. Their lineup is not good. They're 3-9 on the season. Like Sacramento State, they're 3-9 on the season. They've lost 5 straight games, and their offense is pretty weak. Their offense is really not good. They're only batting .211 as a team as a whole. Only have three batters currently who are hitting over 240, or only 3 batters who are currently hitting 240 or better when you look at it. Again, they're 3-9. They lost 5 straight, only averaging 4.4 runs per game, and that includes a game this season where they put up 21 runs in one game this season. So that means in their 11 other games they've played so far this year, they're averaging less than 3 runs a game outside of that 21 run game outlier that they had. So again, their offense isn't good. Like their offense isn't good. They've struggled offensively as a team when you look at it, and that could help the pitching staff. I think, of course, Case and Evans, Cooper Moore, and William Schmidt are going to be able to eat up this lineup this week because they just, again, only have 3 guys batting 240 or above. Like that's pretty bad when you look at it. On the mound for Sacramento State, if they have one positive, because again, they're 3-9, they've been struggling to start the season. If they have one positive, they do have some decent starting pitching on the mound. Like they do have some pretty decent starting pitching, and it starts with the top guy is a guy you'll probably see on the mound tonight, and that is Ethan Lay, who is a right-hander. Their right-handed ace, Ethan Lay. And Ethan Lay has been pretty good this season. He has a really good stat line when you look at the numbers. Ethan Lay has struck out 24 batters this season, only has walked 2 in 19 and 2/3 innings so far this season. So if there's one positive, again, they do have some decent starting pitching, and it starts with right-hander Ethan Lay, who you'll probably see on the bump for them tonight, and he's been pretty good so far this season. Opponents are just hitting 188 off of Ethan Lay so far this season. So again, when you look at the Sacramento State team, their lineup just hasn't been good. Like their lineup has been pretty bad this year. I think especially your starters with Evans, Moore, and Schmidt should be able to eat this lineup up pretty well this weekend. And then I think because Gavin Guidry pitched on Wednesday, I think you'll see Devin Sheeran possibly pitch tonight in relief for Case and Evans as well. But again, the lineup is not good. Ethan Lay is he's been decent this season, so I'm interested to see how LSU's offense handles him in the early going. Look, I think this weekend is more about LSU. Obviously, you only have 4 games currently. You only have 4 games until you head to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. And I think the biggest thing is, obviously, I think your starters are going to be really good this weekend, and Sheeran and other guys as well. I think you'll do well as a pitching staff this weekend, I believe. You need to heat up offensively. You really need to heat up offensively. I think one of the things, and it's a thing Jay Johnson has talked about, a thing I've talked about, is when you've seen Jay Johnson's lineups, offenses be at their best in the past. I think it's been, obviously they can rake, obviously, and they have raked in the past, but they have been patient at the plate, and they've had great plate vision and plate discipline and pitch selection and like all of that. Like they've been great with that in the past. Sometimes over this 6-game stretch, sometimes its offense can be pressing a little bit, be a little bit too aggressive. So they need to wait. Like they need to get back to that plate vision, that plate discipline, and all of that you were awesome at in the first 8 games of the season. Again, this offense, we've seen them play well. We've seen them be awesome. We saw it in the first 8 games of the season when you started 8-0. They're in a, this last 6 games, they've been a struggle. Like, it's been a struggle, but we've seen, like, this offense, when they're on, we know they can perform. And I think Jay Johnson said the other night that you could possibly say they've lost a little bit of the plan. Like, they've steered away from the plan as a lineup a little bit. And I think that plan is, obviously, you want to be aggressive at some spots. You don't want to lay off pitches that are in the zone. Like, you want to capitalize off of mistakes. When you're throwing a mistake, you want to capitalize off of it. But you also want to be patient as well and have good plate discipline and good plate division. And I think that's when Jay Johnson's offenses are at their best. That's what they have been able to do. But yeah, that's kind of my take on this weekend. I also think this weekend, it'd be nice if the Tigers could start hot. Like, I think the last few games they've gone down early, right? And they've had to claw and fight back, and like, they've gone down trailed early in games, and they've had to claw their way back. And when you're having to claw your way back from an early deficit, that's when you can see pressing as an offense. You can press as an offense, and you can be overly aggressive. So I think tonight, what I want to see is, I think your pitching staff is going to be fine this weekend, especially, I mean, you're 9-0 when you have either Kason Evans, William Schmidt, or Cooper Moore take the mound. When either one of those guys are on the mound, you've been undefeated so far this season. I think your pitching staff is going to be good against Sacramento State. Again, their offense hasn't been good, but the big thing for me is you want to see the bat start to heat up, and go back to the approach at the plate that we saw the first 8 games of the season that they kind of drifted away from. I think the Tigers are gonna be able to do that. Like, I believe in this team. I believe in this team. I believe in this coaching staff. They're going to figure it out. They are going to figure it out. And yeah, when you look at it, I'm excited for this weekend. Again, it's been a struggle the past 6 games, offensively, defensively in the field, and then with the back end of your pitching staff. But I think this weekend, I'm excited for it. And again, the last non-conference weekend before SEC play starts, when you head to Nashville and Vanderbilt next week. So you need to figure it out this weekend, and I think they will. This weekend. Let's get to a few more comments. Let's see. My motto is just hearing Lynn Rollins call a game, especially with Big Ben, is must see on the announcers alone, let alone the baseball. Yeah, I love Big Ben and Lynn. Who do I believe will break out this weekend on offense? Oh, man. Man, that's a good question, Paul. That's a good question, Paul. I'll go with, man, I'll go with our guy, Paul. I'll go with Dardar. This weekend. I think at the pick to click today, I picked Stephen Milam. I want to see a little bit more from Stephen Milam, especially. I want to see more from this entire offense. But I think if there's one guy who you can obviously, like, I've talked to you about it, Paul, and I've mentioned it on the show, is that I love Dardar. Like, I love Dardar. I love his passion. I love his fire. I love his energy. Like, and he could step into a role potentially as a leader on this team. Let's see. Goose Sports says, yo, thank you for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. I appreciate Randy. I appreciate Paul. I appreciate, Goose Sports for being in here as well. I appreciate all of you guys for being in here. Again, the Tigers, 6:30 tonight, 6 o'clock Saturday night, and finish the series at 1 p.m. First pitch on Sunday. Excited for the Tigers to get back to their winning ways this weekend. I think they're going to bounce back this weekend, and they need to, because, again, SEC play is right around the corner. You only got 4 games left this season. So thank you, folks, as always, for tuning in to this edition of the Babin on the Bayou Show. I hope you have a phenomenal weekend. You and your family have a great weekend, and go Tigers. And thank you as always for tuning into the show. Leave a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. Thank you as always for tuning into the show. I really appreciate you guys. And remember, as always, God bless, go Tigers, and have a great one. Later, folks.